at some point as creatives, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I believe at some point as creatives, especially creative business owners and creative entrepreneurs, you want to get past the solopreneur stage where you're doing it all yourself. You want to get to a point where you are so good that you can bring in somebody else who will, and this is what you see a lot in like commercial sets, you can bring in somebody else who's going to be the camera operator, even though you're the director of photography. Yeah. So all you got to do is tell them, line it up like this, get this angle, we need this light. So the technicality of what it takes, even though you're not the hands doing it, right? And that's what a lot of creative directors will do too. But to your point though, it does become a lot. But if you're thinking about your business as something that will scale and grow, as a creative service provider, you also want to be thinking through, all right, this is the type of, in order to outsource X, Y, and Z, I need a client at this point, like this price point, and then I can outsource this piece and this piece and still bring in a profit, still pay myself, all of that. And because you're not having to do all the work yourself, you then become the salesperson looking for the next client. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah, so then like when it comes to that piece of like marketing and all that stuff, like you the CEO. So if nobody else in the business is going out and getting more clients, it's you. Yeah. So I can get hired, using my example, I can get hired for this job knowing that I'm not going to shoot it, but I'm going to have the onboarding. There's still things that are within my control as the business owner. Yeah. But I can outsource certain other more technical things for like the shoot day or editing, the things that will take more time. But since I'm not doing that, now I've gotten that off my plate. I'm going back to marketing and selling. So marketing and finding the next client while the service is still being done. Yeah. It's not about me. But that's just like a business thing. That's like a business thing of what it looks like to run a creative business. And that is also the agency model too. Like if you're running a creative agency, you likely are finding and outsourcing people who are providing the service while whoever's, hiring out, they're going and getting the clients and bringing in the work, and then you do the work for.
There's just levels to the
There's structures. Just levels to it. Yeah. And it to the point of consistency though, it takes consistency to be able to understand your business and what all you can actually do. Yeah. So like the example I'll give is like, I don't have the capacity to go out and shoot a Nike commercial yet at all, but I know that, right? Yeah. I know the capacity that I have in my business, even with the people that I can like comfortably outsource to, and know that it's still a good product, it's still a good service I'm providing. But I've been doing it long enough to know what my capacity is. Mm-hmm. I've been doing it long enough and consistently enough to know what service I can provide at a really good, like not just good price point, but also like a good quality at the price point that we're at, and still show up and still not drop the ball. And so like now consistency looks like making sure that when I am outsourcing, they delivering what they should be delivering on time so I can deliver it to the client. Our meetings, the meetings that we have, and it's just, like you said, it's just levels to it. Like it's consistency at a different level, but it's still consistency, right? So before when it's just me doing a project, like I have to be consistent with showing up, hitting those deliverables, hitting them deadlines, all the things for the client, while also maintaining the fact that I still need to post and market, and I still need to be visible in front of, wider audiences and newer clients. I still need to be on this call to, answer a question for a new client who got questions about a potential project. Yeah. So none of those things fall off. It actually just grows. To the point of the question of like, what does consistency looks like? It looks the same, but at another level. And also there's a little bit of management in there too, with hiring independent contractors to shoot something or to edit. Mm-hmm. Like I'm also having to manage their workflow to make sure that their inconsistencies, if they have any, which ideally like you don't want to work with people who do, but to manage inconsistencies across your team, like you don't want to be working with somebody whose consistency level ain't the same as yours. Yeah. Because it'll impact the client experience, right? Yeah,
definitely.
But that was a long answer for just like the consistency stays the same. Yeah. As a service provider who is also a business owner, and you got to run the business and like market and be out there with your content.
The whole thing.
it all stays the same. It just, as you grow, you just get better at it.
Yeah.
And it grows to the next level. And you're working with people who can also meet that level. But yeah.
Yeah, two things I was thinking about in that. So inconsistency, and tell me how you feel about these things. These things just popped in my head. These are two intangibles you need. You need preparation and perseverance.
Oh, for sure.
And in the preparation standpoint, you have, hey, I need to plan and understand what I need going into this, but I need that perseverance to know that everything's not always going to be as I think it should be. Like anything that's planned is probably not always going to go to plan. In the wedding industry, 100%, nothing on the timeline is ever on time.
Yeah.
Things happen. Sometimes people don't show up. Somebody was too drunk from last night. Like things get rescheduled. But as the creator in this aspect, you have to be prepared enough by the experience that you gain to be able to persevere through this moment and pivot. That's another one. We just adding P's today. But being able to pivot and say, okay, well, we can't do that. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Because this actually works better in these numbers. Like sometimes you have uneven things, and maybe this works out in the favor of. But how do you feel about that as far as preparation and perseverance in being consistent?
No, absolutely. I think you're absolutely on top of it. And there's a level of preparation that will allow you, I think, that will feed into that perseverance. So, you can only prepare so much because there are uncertainties within anything.
Yeah.
There's never a 100% it went exactly as planned.
At all.
But what is amazing with preparation is that the preparation will prepare you and put you in position to handle the uncertainties and to persevere through them. So I do think you're like right on it. And like you said, that pivot, also knowing when to pivot, when to make the change, and when to just power through it and persevere, right? So I do think you're absolutely on it. In consistency, when you're always in a place, people say stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. Like when you're always in a place where you are preparing to some degree for your next, whether it's your next level, whether it's your next client, whether it's your next project, like personal project, whatever it is creatively, when you're always staying in a place of like learning and preparing for the next thing, I think it gives you a lot of patience and perseverance to either get through the uncertainties, or know how to pivot in the uncertainties.
Yeah.
I think you're right on it with that. There's a level of consistency that you just naturally build when you're properly preparing, and that just makes everything else, like, it don't make it easy and smooth, but it makes it all doable. It makes it all like, okay, I can do this again. Like, I'm not gonna stop here now. It was hard, but on to the next.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing with like your goals. Your goals have to continue to evolve, which helps that journey of consistency be continuous.